it blows my mind, all the crazy things that are going on at the moment, the things that you see in the news. And the reality is that it hasn't happened by accident. It's not just random. It's been created by design. A design to make us fearful of our neighbour, to be divided, to think that other people are out to get us. When in fact, this is a class war and nothing else. So before we get started, as always, if you like the video, please subscribe, click the like button, leave me your comments below, click the little bell notification so that you're always notified when I upload a new video, and welcome along for the ride. So you've got racism and COVID realities and conspiracies and LGBTQ plus issues and climate change and religion all over the news and in the mainstream media, and we're told that all of this is systemic, that you should fear and hate your neighbour. But it's a fallacy. Of course, all of these things exist. They all exist. But in isolation, they all exist as personal experiences. It's not your neighbours that are doing it. It's not your fellow man that you need to fear. The people that you need to fear are the people in power, the governments, the politicians, the corporations, the powerful individuals who it's in their interests to keep you down and keep you divided. Because as long as you're divided from the people around you, from your neighbours, from the people who can support you, then you haven't got an eye on those people. That's why they do it. And they strategize to keep us compliant and divided. I mean, look through your lifetime and see all of the big events that have happened. And you can always kind of connect the dots back to the division, to people that it has affected, and fear that's been created, and hatred, and not being very suspicious, or not trusting the other people, or not giving them a chance, or it's being done tactically. And the class war is upon us all. I mean, take racism for an example. It's been relentlessly pushed as a narrative by the mainstream media, and they ensure that people believe that racism is systemic, that it's just there, that you are just oppressed, that you're an oppressor. It just exists in the system. It just is. And as a result, all white people are racist because white people created the system. And to me, it's just insane. I'm white. I'm not racist. I didn't create any system. I was born into this world the same as anybody else. And I've existed treating people with respect and looking out for people. And I mean, I actively oppose the narrative that there's systemic racism and that all white people are racist. It's just ridiculous. And I think most people agree with me. But it's the media and it's the narrative that they continue to push, because they know that racism is a very visual way to divide people. So you drill into people that the people who don't have the same skin tone as them or look different to them are either better or worse than them, are either oppressing them or are being oppressed, and it's just bizarre. It's crazy. I mean, some white people are racist, and racism exists. It's not that racism doesn't exist, but it happens regardless of the race or the perpetrator. It just happens. It just is. And I say this with authority because I don't discriminate. I never, ever discriminate against my fellow man for any reason. No reason at all. Whether it was when I was managing hospitality businesses and the opportunities that I gave, I wasn't giving any extra opportunities to this race or this skin colour or that skin colour. Like, if you can do your job, the best person gets the job. And as a result, I ended up with a really kind of diverse team. I always ended up with diverse teams because it's never, and whether, I mean, it's never a consideration. It's never a consideration for me. And discrimination happens in the world, but it's not systemic. Because you say, if somebody says that racism is systemic, what system? What system are you talking about? Because the issue that I have with that is, if you say the country as a whole, and you're going to describe that as a system, then you're including me in that. So the system can't be racist because I'm not racist. So tell me another system that's racist. So if you identify, but then it's not the whole system, is it? You may be able to identify systems that are racist, that are inherently racist. I guess the KKK in America, I don't know how you would describe the system, the actual system, but of course the systemic racism within the KKK, but that's an isolated group of people who've been kind of who are brainwashed by a specific ideology. And this narrative, so the narrative that I hate about racism and systemic racism and institutional racism and all of this, it's perpetrated to make people look accusingly at each other. And again, throughout, there is racism and racism happens. But as soon as you say it's systemic for a system that it isn't systemic in, you're tarring everybody in that system with the same brush again. So it's a way of doing. It's a way of kind of doing what you're trying to say that you want to get rid of, which is the discrimination. So if you say a system's wholly racist, if you say our system that in Britain is wholly racist, you're discriminating against me because I'm not. So the narrative is perpetrated to make people look at each other accusingly. So again, like it's kind of created as well. It's created for certain people in society to look at other people in society and say, well, you're racist because you're white, for example, which is the stupidest thing I've ever, the stupidest narrative that I've ever heard. And so the fact that people believe in that narrative is just dumb to me. But it also happens the other way. So it makes me defensive, and I say I'm not racist. So it makes me look accusingly at the people who believe that. And so I have to check myself and remind myself sometimes. I have to say, okay, these people have their own experience. It's and their own perspective. It's up to me to help them to change that narrow-minded view. And the only way I'm going to do that is by understanding their viewpoint, and then having a conversation and work it so that we can learn from each other's experiences. And that's the only way to do it. And so as long as that's kept going, as long as people are not trusting each other, they win. The people above us win. The people in power win. The privileged elite class win. They're laughing at us. Every time I see a new post, a new thing on social media where something's happened, or where somebody posts something talking about systemic racism, talking about how all white people are racist. Every time something like that's posted, and then I look in the comments, and then you've got two sides. You've got two sides of people arguing against each other. And I look at them and I think to myself, you're doing exactly what they want. You're following their script. You're taking the bait. They want you to argue, where in fact, you people arguing have got more in common than you have with the person that's made that post or created this narrative. You should be coming together, not arguing. Because the people above are laughing, and that's what the class war is. The class war is upper class, upper middle to elite class, liberal, people in power, people with money. It's those people, and the rest That's the class war. That's the war that should be going on. Not between each other. And it's only recently that people have started to turn on each other, because it's been pushed, and because we've got that narrative in our hands, in our pockets all the time in social media. And so people who ordinarily would have gone about their everyday lives normal, and they would have interacted respectfully, and they would have had a laugh, and they would have found common ground, and they would have been friends and everything. Those people are now divided, and it's only recent. And society is now fragmented, because that's how the people in power want it. The more fragmented the working to up to middle class, which is the majority of the world population, the more fragmented that is, the better it is for the people in power to keep their power. I mean, you only need to look at elections, where really the parties are the same parties now. It's only one. It's a one-party system that controls our governments now. Even the opposition party vote with the current party in government on most issues now. But then come election cycle, come kind of voting time, they set hard policies that speak to just groups of people, to divide the people, and then you hear a lot of stories that help to create that division. And so everybody argues, and then everybody votes, and there's never one candidate who everybody votes for who is actually really good and changes everything. That never happens, because they're able to divide everybody, make sure everybody's against each other, and they vote for their person, and they vote for their person, that's it. And then the one party just sneaks in, but you know what? They're all the same. And so, like, then when you look at the difference in class and the difference in mindset, you start to realise that actually the discrimination and racism isn't among us. We get on. We're different. We are different, but we're also the same, and we need to accept that. Differences aren't a bad thing. Differences are a great thing. Individuality is a great thing. That's why masks are so bad, because it takes away that. It's just everybody's a drone now. But if you look at comments by the upper to kind of the privilege, I guess I'll call the privileged class now. If you look at the comments made by them, and then the comments made by normal everyday people, there's a lot more discrimination and racism from the upper classes. Joe Biden recently said, and again, I don't like this, but minorities don't know how to get ID to use to go and vote. They don't know. They don't have access. They don't know how to do. Like, this is the most racist thing you could possibly say. I mean, I saw a video recently where a guy went to like an upper middle class area or whatever, and he was asking all the people, and they were kind of like, well, yeah, they were upper middle class, and he was asking them about this systemic racism in the voting system and what they thought, and they were like, yeah, it's because minorities can't get their ID and they don't know how to do it and everything else. Anyway, so then he goes to a kind of a working class area and asks some black people, like, do you have an ID? And they're like, of course I have an ID. Like, he says, do you know where to get ID? Of course I do. Do you know where the ID centre is, the DMV, they call it there, whatever? Yeah, it's over on this thing. And can you get there? Yeah, of course I can. And all of the people he asked were like, we carry ID. Everybody carries ID because we know how important it is that for everyday life. We get asked for ID, we've got it. We don't want to cause any more problem than we've already got. We've got ID. If anybody asks us, that's part of what you need to do to live in society. So as you can see, it's the narrative from the upper classes. The EU is another example. They preach diversity and looking after this group and that group, but then they're splitting it into they're chopping up society into these tiny groups so that each group then wants a bigger slice of that pie, but they're always preaching and preaching. And so this is what you've got to be careful of. It's what these it's what do you call it? It's projection. It's where these people will say certain things, but that's what they are themselves. So the EU will push this agenda of talking about diversity and opportunity for everybody and equality and everything else. It's the whitest organisation on the planet. The EU is. Have a look at photos of the EU, of all the European members of Parliament. It's like a negative photo, like where there's only black and kind of mainly white, and then some of the colours, but the colour that runs throughout is it's just white. It's white. But again, it's not about race. I'm just pointing out that the hypocritical nature of their narratives. But it's not about race. It's about class. It's about protecting their interests. So if they can make you believe that there is systemic racism and that everybody's out to get you and that everybody's against each other, you can't organise yourselves and come together against them. So it's not that it's kind of the EU is an all white state, but freedom of movement in the EU is a thing, and if you're not an EU citizen, again class. If you're not an EU citizen, you can't have freedom of movement. Now, to me, if you're a freedom of movement person, then surely it's freedom of movement everywhere. So if you're not in the EU, if you're not in the bloc, if you're not in the privileged bloc again, then the odds are stacked against you. That's why you've got immigrants and migrants moving from Africa, from the Middle East, where their countries have been destroyed by years of I don't like using these kind of terms, but imperialist EU, European countries going to their countries, taking their resources, destabilising their governments. That's why you've got all these people coming and trying to force their way into Europe, because they can see the difference, the difference in living standards are completely a world apart. And so they're pushing to come. And so if you've got a lot of money, you can come in. But my point is it's a class thing. It's and it always has been. It's Europe. It's North America. These countries believe that these areas and the people that control them believe that they're better than everybody else. So if you're African, sorry, unless you're wealthy, unless you're rich, then you can pay your way in. But no, if not, you stay down. You can't have this. And it's the same everywhere. North America and the US. Oh, you're from those Central American nations that we put dictators in, or we helped do a coup d'etat, and we pretty much destroyed your country. It's now run by drug gangs, and it's now a narco state. Oh, no, you've got to stay down there with your kidnappings and your shootings and your beheadings and your torturing and all of that. You've got to stay down there, and we're gonna stick up here, and it's the clash. You've got to open your eyes. I mean, I have more in common with my fellow black, Asian, Middle Eastern man or woman than I do with upper to middle class privileged society, the elite, the people who hold the power. I've got more in common with these people around me, the people that I live around. I've got more in common with these people than I do with the people above. I mean, for one, my hopes and dreams and my value system is more aligned with the people who go through struggles because of me going through struggles myself. But my value system is with them. My empathy system, my morality system is with these people. Because you know what? The people from the working class up to middle class, that huge percentage of the population, they're much more empathetic. They're much more look after your neighbour, help your neighbour, do what you can for your friend, help them out. If somebody's in trouble, you go and lend them a hand. Much more in tune. And so it's all about class. And then so now that we know that the privileged class use narratives in the media and in social media to divide us, the next one is COVID. I mean, we've just seen, was it yesterday? Project Veritas exposing CNN, who was saying that COVID was a golden egg for them, a golden chicken, because it was churning out. They were churning out news about COVID and death case, and they said that they pumped them up. They pumped the cases up and the death rates up because it was good for them. It was good. They're able to sell more advertising if they've got more viewers, and they had more viewers because people wanted to know about this, and it was sensationalized. I mean, that's insane. I mean, we've seen in COVID during this pandemic, we've seen the biggest transfer of wealth in history. I think it's something like, I mean, and I'll see if I can put the stat up, but I'm sure it was something like $13.9 billion worth of businesses went under. So that money less from these small businesses that have just shut up shop, and then you've got 13.8 billion more money profit has been made by the richest people in the world and the richest companies in the world. I mean, it's so sad. All these businesses just going bust, and travel restrictions. But you know what? The travel restrictions are interesting because you can't leave. Normal people can't leave the country. Otherwise, we get fined if we're found to leave the country without a good reason. And at the same time, rich people are flying around the world in their private jets. That's not right. But it's a good illustration of the class war. I mean, John Kerry, I don't know what role he's got in the US at the moment, but he's like the climate change envoy for I don't know, for the US or for the UN or who cares. But anyway, there was an interview with him, and he was like, "Yeah, so people have got to stop flying around the world now because it's helping climate change if we don't." And so yeah, and he won an award for it, and he went to collect his award in a private jet. They're taking the piss. They're taking the mick. Absolutely. They're laughing. They're laughing at the normal people. And so one of the things with the travel restriction here in the UK, and again, because it's a global thing, COVID, it's a global strategy. I'm pretty sure it's all countries in the world. You can't leave the country unless you've got a good reason to do so. And one of the good reasons to do so is if you've got a second home that you want to go and sell or prepare to sell. Now, we all know that it takes a long time to sell property, and it's going to take even more time to sell property during this pandemic period. So people are just going to say, I'm going to go to my second home over in the south of France, over in Spain, over in Italy, Greece, whatever. I'm just going to go over and I'm preparing to sell. I'm just preparing to sell. But that's the thing. Working class people don't have a second home. They struggle to pay a first home. So if you've got a second home, you can go. But if you've only got one home that you live in, you've got to stay. It's a class thing. It doesn't matter what race you are. You might be Asian, you might be black, whatever. But you might be at the top of the tree, and you may have a second home. You can go and prepare your house for sale or do whatever else, which literally can just mean going and taking a feather duster around your house. But while you sit out on the patio around your swimming pool and all of that jazz. But that's the point. The point is it's a class thing. It's not anything else. And then you'll find that the middle to upper class people throughout COVID have been pushing, oh no, we need another lockdown. We need another guys, we need to stay locked down. We need to stay locked down. Oh, no, 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 we can't go out. And so the working class people are like, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay my rent? My business is going up. My business has gone under. What am I going to do? I've got a mortgage to pay. I don't know what I've got to do. I need to work to pay my mortgage. Otherwise, I'm going to lose the roof over my head. How am I going to do it? And the privileged class have money in the bank. Doesn't matter to them. They've got money in the bank. Oh, darling, I work from home now. Work from home. Oh, it's never been better. Get up when I want, go to bed when I want, go to sleep when I want. Oh, it's beautiful. So they've got money in the bank. They've got no reason to, they've got no threat to their life. So they want it to continue. Never been better. Business has never been better for them. While at the same time criticising people who are having to go out to work. Oh, look at all of these people on the underground with their masks. Look at them all squashed together. And the news saying this. Look at them all squashed together on the underground or on buses. And they've got to go. They've got to work. These people have got to work. They've got to put food on the table. It's a continued tightening of control. That's what it is. And it's, again, if you're looking at your fellow man or woman around you, you're looking in the wrong place for who you need to be angry at. The masks, the social distancing, all of that is just, it's increased. What the privileged class want is they want a two-tier social system where you have the herd class, who are the ones that they milk like cows, so they can that herd class that continues to buy and pay for their second and third homes and their private jets. They want that to continue, but they don't. But they're tired now. The privileged class is now tired of having to go through those inconvenient election cycles and having to go out and campaign and stuff. Like, it's too much for them. It's too much, especially when they don't need to do it. Especially when they can lock people up. Especially when they can keep people distant from each other. Especially when they can not allow people to communicate with visual, with body language and with their expression, their facial expressions. That's what they want to do. And then they want to make sure that they know what these people are doing and so they need to introduce some sort of social passport. And so that's what's coming next. That's what they're working on next is a social passport, so they can just keep control of people, switch it off. I watched a video the other day of this guy who criticised the Communist Party in China, and he went to buy a train ticket, and so he took his social credit passport card, whatever, and he tried to buy a train ticket to move, and he's like scanned it. And it says you have zero social credit scores because they've taken them off him. I'm sorry, you're banned from travelling. You don't have enough credit in your score. What a life to live. And they don't care. They don't care. The people, the privileged in our society don't care. The other day, there was a video of so when shops and hospitality opened up and were allowed to serve drinks outside. In the cold. It snowed that day. The first day it snowed, but people still went out and did it. But they were allowed to serve outside, and you have to make sure that you're wearing your mask, and you have to make sure that you're socially distanced, and you have to all of this stuff. And on the same day, and I swear that it's a power move, Boris Johnson was photographed inside a cafe without a mask with his team. Nobody was wearing masks. Going up and ordering, no masks, all really close together, sitting down close together around a table. So who are the rules for? It's for the herd class, it's for us. It's not for them. And as I say, people said, why has he made this? Oh, it's a gaffe. It wasn't a gaffe. It was a show of power. It's the same sort of thing that they do in North Korea or in China, where the leaders will show that this is for you. The whole communist thing, you all have to be a community and communally work and receive the same pay, and you all need to live under the same conditions, but we don't. So that's why they have decadence. It's a show of power. They show their decadence of look at how we live and look at how you live. Know your place and know our place. And it's psychological. So it was a psyops. It was a psychological operation to show people it doesn't matter what you think or do. We make the decisions, and this is how we're gonna live. And so it's something that we need to get a handle on very, very soon. I'm not sure how we go about it. Could you create another party, another political party to fight it? I don't know. Because it's my suspicion that all of the things that have been going on during the pandemic has been a demonstration that something has changed. And I think what has changed is that that the voting system is rigged now. So it doesn't matter who votes for who. The results come, and I believe that it's all rigged. And I believe that they know that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people think or what people do. That they will come out of the system winning. Because if you know that there's no threat, then you let your guards down and you're like, okay, so it doesn't matter, does it? The next big one, the next big division thing, class division, is climate change. So they tell everybody you need to reduce your carbon footprint. You need to reduce how much you use petrol vehicles. You need to reduce how much you go and use the train. You need to reduce how much you fly. You need to reduce this. You need to reduce that. You need to stop doing this. You need to stop doing that. Well, they never do it. They never change their climate, their carbon footprint. Theirs is as big as ever. The US, China, India, all burning fossil fuels at record levels and don't care. Because they're the corporations and the politicians. They have their fingers in all the pies. In all the pies. And that's why they don't care. So it's not really about climate change. It's about control. It's about control. Control of the masses. If they don't control the masses, they're worried that the masses will organise themselves and fight back. And that's what it's all about. I mean, Greta Thunberg, like, the amount of gesticulating and pontificating and lecturing that she does to the Western, a lot of the Western countries and the Western people, and kind of going up there on a stage and talking about this and talking about how dare you and all this sort of rubbish, right? Why doesn't she go to the places that are at the heart? Why doesn't she go to China? Why doesn't she go to India? Why doesn't she go to these places? And why doesn't she criticise the governments? And why doesn't she take that tack? The reason is because she's a plant. Because she's been put there to do this, to make you feel bad, to make you adjust the way that you live, adjust your rhythm, your life rhythm. And again, the same. Climate change, it's good to be aware of that, and good to be aware of what can harm our environment and what might affect the future and all of those things. I think that's good to contemplate. So in that case, it's good. Okay, so what's harmful? Okay, so with that information, I can look at what I do personally and decide for myself with individual responsibility what I'm going to do or what I'm not going to do. But all of this it's all about keeping the population off balance. And I've seen it in business. A really good way to control your workforce is to keep them off balance. A good way to keep a big group of people compliant is to keep them off balance. Never let them get into a rhythm. Never let them know what's coming tomorrow or the day after. Keep them off balance. And it's so fundamental to how we live and to controlling things, is keeping your opponent or the people under your control off balance. It goes back to fighting. So if you ask anybody in boxing, martial arts, whatever, one of the biggest weapons that you have in your armory is anything that will keep your opponent off balance. So it's not about how hard you hit it's about making your opponent make moves that will unbalance them. Once they're unbalanced, you take advantage of that, and you can do what you want. You've got them under your control if they're not balanced. Balance is the fundamental to fighting. But yeah, so it's just us peasants, it's us plebs that they want to keep. They want to use the cars less and fly less, and it's never the working class people that talk about these things. It's always the privileged class that are always talking about, oh, people need to use their cars less. You need to leave your house less. Stay in your home, stay locked down. You need to do that less. It's always those people. And that should be a serious concern to everybody. You should be worried about that. But people, the problem is that we're too dumb now. As a class, we're so dumbed down. And so I despair when I see comments on social media where people say things like, just wear your mask, just socially distance, just get vaccinated. Don't question it. It's infuriating for me when they say things like, don't question it. I'm not anti-vaccine or anything like that, and I may have had the vaccine if alarm bells hadn't gone off about it all. If it didn't look suspicious to me, I might have just gone ahead and had it. I don't know. If I didn't feel personally threatened, then I might have gone and had it done. But there's so many weird things going on. Boris Johnson saying that the vaccines that they've rolled out, that as soon as they started rolling out the vaccine, cases and deaths just plummeted, and it's almost non-existent now. And then he turns around and says that the vaccines didn't do anything, but lockdowns did. It's just all of this stupid rhetoric. But anyway, so I despair when I see the comments that don't ask, don't question it. It's science. Don't question it. Just have it. Just have the vaccine. Stop questioning. When in fact, vaccines take 10 to 15 years to approve because you need to see what happens after 10 to 15 years to the people that have taken them. In trials, you need to see the results before you can say, okay, this is safe. Generally, this is safe, and that's not happened. It's not been 12 months yet, and now there's all of these complications and all of this stuff, and people are still swallowing it because we've been dumbed down by TV, by mainstream media. We're made too busy. Our brain is made too busy to be able to think and contemplate things. Our working day has never been longer. We don't have time to think. So generally people get home after work and they'll have something to eat and they'll put the TV on, maybe whack the news on. Let's have a look then. What's going on? Oh, this CNN. Oh, the cases of COVID have shot through the roof, and you're like, wow, God, I need to wear my mask. I'm gonna have to go and get this vaccine next week. Oh, I need social distance. I can't see my dying relative, my dying mother, or my dying whatever. I can't see them because it's terrible. It could be me that causes their death, and I can't do it, and we can't. It's just frustrating for me. They tell people what to think in the media and social media now, and people go along with it. I mean, the censorship now on social media. People, maybe there's a lot of people. Maybe you're watching this and you know that this is the case, but also maybe you're watching this and thinking that all of this is really far fetched. But the censorship is just bizarre. I mean, you've got really, just with regards to COVID, for example, you've got really, really kind of high profile, experienced doctors speaking out against vaccines and against the kind of that side of it. And they're being censored and saying it's misinformation. And you're like, hang on a second. Nobody said that you have to listen to this one this one scientific study and say that that's gospel. That's religion. That's religion. That's saying you've got to listen to this, and this is what it is, and nothing else can be contemplated. That's the story, and that's what it is. You got to believe it. That's a religion when you're not allowed to listen to anything else. So it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And recently, I've swapped over from Google to DuckDuckGo. And you just have two completely different experiences. Google itself is a propaganda. I remember, like a propaganda tool. I remember back in the day, maybe I'm talking 20 years ago. Google was really interesting because what you used to do with Google, what I used to do with Google was you'd have the first page, so you'd search something, and you'd have the first page. But then it'd be really interesting to in the first page, you could achieve first page doing search engine optimization, and also you could do paid ads, pay per click, and all of that sort of stuff. So you get yourself on the first page. So I knew that the first page of Google was not. It was some of it was paid for. So you'd get the interesting stuff on the second page and the third page and the fourth page of Google. That's where the real interesting stuff would go. So I'd just click past the first page, I'd be on the second page, and then you'd find interesting websites. And having a conversation with my mate the other day, Mauricio, and he pointed it out, he was saying, there's only a few websites now for everything. So everything that you read or that you find on the internet is all the same websites and the same social media platforms and nothing else. You can't find anything else. It's very, very rare that you can just discover gems. But back in the day, you would be on page 2, page 3, page 4, and you'd discover gems, real gems of websites, and you delve in and, this is so interesting. This is really cool about whatever subject you were searching for. And so you could do deep dives you could go down real good rabbit holes of anything you wanted, like geography, politics, alternative ideas, science, news. And you just find all different, not anymore. Google's Google's on a payroll. Google's on the payroll of the privileged class now. They'll tell you what they want you to hear, not what you want to find out. And so just watching Tim, I don't know if anybody watches Timcast IRL, and they were pointing out that if you search on Google for riots, there'd been some riots I think it was in Minnesota recently over the killing of a killing of a black guy by a police woman. I think they were rioting about that, which is fair enough. And but so they on Google. There was when you type in riots, there was nothing about that. So that should be one of the first results. Surely it's one of the latest news stories, and it wasn't. The riots were still referring to the Capitol riots over the electing of Joe Biden. And that was all it showed. But if you go on DuckDuckGo, they show a more up to date, most recent stories, and you get kind of a more balanced picture. If I don't want to read about those stories, as an individual, using my own personal responsibility, I'll scroll past. If I don't agree with the terms used, I'll scroll past. But give me the opportunity. Give me the opportunity to decide what I do and don't read. So two completely different stories. I mean, I think that the fight in the West, this class war in the West, I think it's effectively over with regards to the media. I think we've lost. I think that the privileged class have control of that. I don't think, and the political scene. I don't think that we can. I don't think there's any way out of it now. I think that's it. They have control over it. The only way that the system can change is if it falls down now, which it will eventually. And I'm hoping that kind of the cryptocurrency and because the fiat financial system is going to collapse very, very soon. And there's going to be a lot of misery. But the cryptocurrency scene will we'll hold strong, and then hopefully we'll see something come out of that. We'll see some people come out of that who aren't influenced, but I don't know. We'll see. But people now want to be locked up and told what to do these days, what to think, what to do. It's such a strange thing. I mean, if you're one of those people, let me know in the comments. Why do you want to be told what to think and what to do, and when to leave your house, and that you've got to cover your face, and let me know, why do you want? Don't say to me, because virus. Don't say that. I just want to know why you think that personal responsibility isn't that important. Let me know. So the privileged class, the elite, the ruling class, they've got so much. They've got so much that we don't have. And so their life is different. Their life experience is different, and so there's so much that they give themselves, they allow themselves to have, but they don't allow the normal people to have it. They don't pay tax, for one. They have all their money in offshore accounts. Think about that. And people complain about it so much. Oh, the offshore accounts of the rich and famous. Yeah, I know. And there's a reason why it's not illegal. And there's a reason why it's only loopholes. Because that's the privilege that you get for playing the game and getting to the top and being wealthy. That's what you get. They fly around the world unrestricted. On private jets, they'll arrive and they'll go through a private check-in and a private immigration and all of that. They don't obey the rules that they give to us. Boris Johnson going to a coffee shop without his mask on, being able to sit inside a coffee shop drinking his coffee. They need us to continue buying things to top up their finance and their lifestyles. That's what they need us to do. That's what they're keeping us as a herd for. They talk about herd immunity with COVID. It's not a mistake. It's all conditioning. Talking about us like animals is part of the strategy to make us believe it, but also it gives an insight into what they think. They don't want people getting above their station. We can't have what they have. That's the whole point. They tell us that there's a system that we live in and that this is how we're supposed to live, and that we have to pay our taxes, and we have to work a 48-hour week, and we have to do this and we have to do that, and they tell us that people are out to get us, and they tell us that we're oppressors or oppressed. They tell us all of these things, man. And people just eat it up and just accept it, and the system is racist. The system is racist. Everybody's racist and everybody's against me. Everybody's transphobic. Everybody's this phobic. Everybody's this. And then they don't kind of connect the dots and realise that everybody is getting shafted by taxes, by their businesses being destroyed, regardless of your gender or race or sexuality. Everybody's getting shafted by the privileged class. And people just ignoring it. I mean, like, if anybody wants to discuss it with me, come on and let's talk, let's discuss it. Come on as a guest on to Drinks with Chris, and I'm happy to have the conversation, because I just think the more people have conversations and thrash it out, the better. And I'm happy to do that and listen to your point of view. Or any of my friends, if any of my friends are watching this, come and have a conversation, pick up the phone, come and have a conversation with me, and let's talk about it, because we're in this together. I mean, they want us to feel threatened and oppressed by our neighbour, so that we don't notice what they're doing. I mean, with the whole, tell me, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, or however you pronounce her stupid privileged name. What's happened to that story with all this going on? Think about it. Like, what's happened to that story? That story's not out there. And we don't know what's going on. There was a literal human trafficking, underage girls ring that provided that service to the elite, to presidents, to heads of corporations, to prime ministers, that it shows in the flight log of Jeffrey Epstein's private jet that all these people had been to the island, to his special island where they would traffic young girls. There is a literal human trafficking operation run by those people for the elite. And that's why they want us fighting each other. So we can't see what's going on with that. Like now, they don't want us to see their dirty laundry that's going on, that's abhorrent, that's disgusting. They don't want us to see it. So what do? Okay, we need to create some things that are going to flood the media with fear, so that these stories don't make it into the media, so that people don't start digging and trying to find out what's going on. Their plan is simple. It's divide and conquer, and it's working. If you think that's real, you've already been affected. Rethink how you see the world. We need to resist. We need to resist that fear mongering, and we need to share ideas, listen to each other's opinions, and do it in a respectful way. Like day to day, it's my thing now that day to day I try, and if I'm interacting with people on social media, okay, I can be sarcastic, I can argue with the best of them, but then a lot of times now I try, and even if it's somebody who opposes the opinion that I've given, I try and have a respectful conversation where I'll challenge what they're saying, but do so respectfully, so that we can challenge each other's ideas, and we can get to some sort of common ground. And I do see a bit more respect in that from the person I'm arguing with, where eventually they come round as well, and they're like, okay, so we're having an adult conversation then. Okay, cool. We need to do more of that. If we can do that, we'll win. If we can do that and start to find the common ground, and start to find that actually we don't know it all. Just because we've been told, that doesn't mean that it's fact. We've got to be able to be curious. That's what we are. I mean, I'd much rather die fighting on my feet than live on my knees, honestly. I'm not a slave to anybody. The people this is controversial, but the people that think that slavery disappeared when slavery was abolished, when African slavery was abolished, are living in cloud cuckoo land. It never went away. Slavery never went away. It was just rebranded and made a bigger industry. Again, let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know if you think that I'm way off by saying that, but it's a class war. It always has been. It's always been about class. It's always been about class, and it's never been about the division that they say that there is, and the kind of me against you and you against me and us against them and them against us, and we're oppressed and we're oppressors and we're this and it's never been about any of that. It's class. It's privileged class and the rest of us. So let me know what you think. Drop a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. It's good to be back. I took off a little bit of time off because I've been focusing on a few other little projects, including NFT, getting into the NFT space and trying to learn more about that and seeing where that takes me. So look out for a bit more of that. But I'm back with Drinks with Chris now. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Again, smash the like button, leave your comments, let me know what you think about the things that I've been talking about, and let's come together. Let's help each other. Let's understand each other, and let's see if we can get out of this mess that we've allowed them to put us in. Because it's never too late. Never too late. Never give up. Never give in. Especially not to these people. Have a great rest of your day, your week, whatever time it is you watching this video. Have a great day, and next time grab yourself a drink, come and sit down, and let's talk. Thanks very much. Take care. Speak to you on the next one.